Hello, welcome to another episode of History in the Dark. I am your host, Darkness the Curse. And before we begin, as always, thank you so much to my generous patrons, my British rail critics, and of course, my underwater train finders. Thomas Ward, Lord Captain Von Thrust III, Some Dude 267, Brightline Blue, Joshua Long, Ohio Trucker 1, Royal Hudson 2860, Lord Hoth 444, Arthur Roy, Benjamin Owens, Panzer Kitsune 131-232, Mr. Black Rose, Tribal Typhoon, Dark Lightning 1536, and Master of None. You are the reason why this content remains loathed and despised, and today we are going to discuss, well, another top 5 list, but this time it's going to be 5 locomotives that were actually pretty successful. Like, people bought them and used them, and they lasted a pretty decent amount of time. Except the problem is, literally the whole time they were being used, the people that actually had to work with them hated their guts. These are 5 successful trains that everyone hated. The General Electric B23-7. First of all, I'm going to warn you ahead of time, based on my research, which took into account actual opinions from actual railroad engineers that actually use these locomotives, General Electric appears a lot on this list. It's just one of those things, so just a heads up. The B23-7s were produced originally in September of 1977, all the way until December of 1984. They produced a total of 412 units for the United States, as well as 125 for Mexico. So they were extremely prevalent, and in terms of operation, they were technically very good. They produced over 2,000 horsepower, which could vary a bit depending on which model you got. General Electric offered an A model that was 12 cylinders that can go up to 3,000 horsepower. Multiple railroads bought them, including Conrail, Missouri Pacific, Southern Pacific, and Santa Fe. So if they're fine, then what's wrong with them? Well, the doors were apparently extremely small, and the walkways were very narrow, making it difficult to move along them. They also had large radiator sections at the back that actually made the already narrow walkways even narrower, so often the crews would just completely avoid going back there. Their ride quality was also known to be extremely bad, very rough on the rails, so even when a crew was just chilling in the cab, trying to operate the locomotive, it was still uncomfortable. There seemed to be never a time where the locomotive would make the crew happy. But they seemed to be very reliable when it came to actually functioning. Crews hated them, yeah, but the railroads could get the job done, and the crews still had to deal with them if they wanted to get paid. They're reliable enough that there are some that are even still in service now. So if you're a train spotter, you may have seen these hood units at one point or another. And if the engineers scowled at you, now you know why. The General Electric B30-7. Not to be confused with the B23, these were slightly different. Constructed between 1977 and 1983, General Electric produced 399 of these, and again various railroads were buyers for this model. Southern Pacific, Missouri Pacific, Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, the list goes on. They were 16 cylinders, 12 if they were a B30-7A, and their power output was up to 3,000 horsepower. Again, in terms of operation, they were totally fine, and some are still even being used now. Except the crews hated them just about as much as they could. The reason? Well, it wasn't down to rough riding necessarily, or the walkways, it was the cabs themselves. The seats, apparently, were just the most uncomfortable things in the universe. It was impossible to get comfortable inside of them, putting extra stress on the engineers. I know it sounds like a really minor issue, but you go into work every day and be uncomfortable the whole time. I mean, I'm sure some of you do that. But does that sound fun to you? I mean, get better seats, guys. I mean, General Electric, this is 2 in a row where you could have made an effort to at least make sure the crews could tolerate working on the locomotive. I'm just saying. The EMD NW5. This admittedly very stylish looking machine was a 1,000 horsepower road switcher that was constructed by EMD between 1946 and 1947. They only produced 13, which doesn't sound very successful, but the railways that did use them actually found them very reliable and helpful in their yard. The reason that only a few were ever made seemed to be down to EMD themselves. There weren't a lot of customers for road switchers at that time, so investing a lot of money to produce more or even advertise the NW5 just didn't make sense to them financially. But again, the ones that did get a hold of one wound up liking them, unless you were someone that actually worked on one. What was the problem with them this time? Well, it wasn't the cabs or any reliability issues, nope. It was the railings. So weird as it sounds, when standard handrails aren't added to them, it meant that the crews had to step very wide with wide-spaced handrails, making it so that there was a high level of fall risk. It was very difficult to move around the units because of this problem. But again, they could operate, and there are a few still in service, and at least one is in preservation, on static display at the Florida Railroad Museum. The General Electric C39-8. General Electric, you're back again, I see. Are you trying to outdo British Rail on these lists? Is that what you're doing? Because that's not really an achievement to strive for, I'm just warning you now. Built between 1984 and 1987, nearly 200 of these -8 series of freight locomotives was produced for Norfolk Southern and Conrail, and to be brutally honest, I could easily swing this and say that the C39-8 could easily be on my worst trains ever list. But I'm going to put it here because the people that really despised them were the crews. They were so unpopular with them. Even though the railroads wound up using them for nearly 3 decades, the crews always complained about them. They rode rough, which was already annoying, but they also had a tendency to overheat, and their turbochargers suffered serious issues, such as the minor case of catching on fire. Oh, and melting the paint, because that's great, thank you for that. The fuel injectors apparently were flawed as well, and the reliability of them was always questionable, but it was never so bad that the railroads stopped using them. They just expected the crews to keep fixing them, even though, logically speaking, no, these are lemon. You don't want to keep these diesels around. But like I said, they did last until fairly recently. Former Norfolk Southern 8212, which was originally Conrail's 6021. It's currently in storage at the Pennsylvania Northeastern Railroad's main yard in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. Whether or not they're going to keep using it is unknown, but as of 2021, it is the only operational C39-8 left in the United States. The British Rail Class 142. You know, when I came up with the title for this list, I knew already that there was no way to avoid you. It was going to happen, and in fact, I already knew exactly what needed to appear on the list when it comes to you. So, I'm not going to get mad that you're here again, but I am going to say politely and firmly that you should probably leave now before I get really mad. That's where we're at, alright? Good? That's fair? Alright. Class 142 may look alarmingly familiar to people, especially if you've ridden on one. This is one of the Pacer trains, and in fact, out of the entire family of Pacers, these were the most prevalent ones, so I felt that they should be the ones that people hate the most, because 96 blasted train sets of these horrid things were put into production, and they stayed in service all the way from 1985 to 2020. Why do people hate them so much? Well, it has nothing to do with their reliability, or how economical they were. Quite the opposite, that's why they stayed in service. The Pacers in general were designed to be as cheap as possible, both in operation and in production, in order to keep struggling lines open. The fact is, they ran, and they generally kept running, despite not costing very much money. The reason the 142s were so prevalent is that they were cheap, and they did function. But the reason why people hate them is that they sacrificed basically every other element to make this happen. Their comfort level is in the negative. Shock absorption doesn't exist on a Pacer train, especially with the 142s, and even if that wasn't an issue, the seats and frankly the passenger compartment in general was also designed with all the cheapness imaginable, making it so that it is not possible to actually get comfortable on these things at any point. The British public despised these things for decades, but they never got rid of them, because it was all they had. They weren't being funded well enough to supply something good, and they needed to keep the lines open. In a weird way, the 142s did save some branch lines from being closed outright, so in that regard, you can call them successful. That doesn't mean the people that had to ride them liked them anymore. And the amazing thing is, they weren't actually withdrawn because of the comfort problems. Oh no. The issue had to do with handicap accessibility. The designs of these things didn't comply with the Persons with Reduced Mobility technical specification for interoperability. So legally, they actually had to either redesign them or remove them outright. They were 35 years old, so it wasn't unreasonable to want to replace them by now, and everyone just breathed a sigh of relief whenever this was announced. But they were a success, technically, so I don't know, man. It's British Rail. I'm just gonna start explaining everything that doesn't make sense to people by just saying it's British Rail. See if they get it. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.